Good morning. Now, Jesus travelled around Israel quite a lot, and in today's story, he's getting nearer to Jerusalem when he decides to stop off in Jericho. Lots of people wanted to see Jesus when he came to town. They heard a lot about the amazing things that he'd done and wanted to see him. And one man who was so keen to see Jesus was called Zacchaeus. You might have heard of him before. He was very, very rich. He had loads of money. Do you know why? Because his job made him very rich. He was a tax collector. Tax collectors got money from the people to give to the king or Caesar. Some tax collectors were dishonest and took more money than they should from the people. They'd keep the extra money for themselves. And Zacchaeus was a dishonest tax collector. He probably didn't have many friends because of the way he treated people, so people didn't like him very much. When Zacchaeus heard that Jesus was in town, he really wanted to see him, just to catch a glimpse of this man he'd heard about. Crowds of people gathered to see Jesus. Now, one of the problems that Zacchaeus had was that he wasn't very tall, so he couldn't see over the top of their heads. And the people didn't like him much, so they weren't going to let him get to the front, were they? So he decided to run ahead and climb up into a tree so he could watch as Jesus passed by. It's quite a nifty idea, really. He wouldn't be seen there, would he, hidden in the foliage? And he could just see Jesus and then carry on with his day again, counting his money or whatever else he did. So Zacchaeus found a nice, large sycamore tree. He climbed up and waited for Jesus to come down the road. And he saw Jesus got closer, and suddenly Jesus stopped right underneath the tree where Zacchaeus was sitting. Jesus looked up and saw Zacchaeus and said, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, because I'm coming to your house today." Whoa, he didn't expect to be seen. Surely no one knew he was there, but Jesus spotted him. And he invited himself round for tea. Imagine if the Queen came to Ealing and invited herself round to tea at someone's house who's done lots of crime. That would be so shocking, wouldn't it? And that's exactly the same situation that Zacchaeus was in. It's so radical. Jesus is talking to someone who the rest of society despised, and he wanted to hang out with him. What do you think happened next? Well, exactly what Jesus said happened next. Zacchaeus came down the tree and took Jesus to his home. Zacchaeus had a meal with Jesus. Zacchaeus was now a changed man. He saw the love and kindness that Jesus showed to him that day, and he was sorry that he'd taken more money than he should have done. Zacchaeus told Jesus, "I will give half of my money to the poor, and I'll give back to the people more money than I took, 4 times as much." What a generous response. He was truly sorry for his greed and dishonesty, and he did something about it. He tried to make things right with the people he'd wronged, and he now cared about other people. He clearly wanted to treat people differently going forward. Zacchaeus was a different person because he had met Jesus. What about the crowds? A lot of people had witnessed this moment, hadn't they? Now, many people who saw the situation unfold said, "Why would Jesus go to the home of someone who's dishonest and unkind?" Well, they didn't understand what Jesus was all about, because Jesus said, "I came to look for and to save the lost." All of us are lost without Jesus. It doesn't matter where we grew up, or how well we did at school or home learning, thankfully, or what job we have. We all need Jesus. He's looking for us, and he's able to save us. Just like in the stories of the lost sheep and the lost coin, you know, those parables you might be familiar with. Jesus has come to seek and to save the lost. Did you spot how deliberate Jesus was in seeking out Zacchaeus? He was travelling through the country and chose to stop off in Jericho. He saw Zacchaeus in the tree, had anyone else. He was trying not to stand out, wasn't he? He called him by name. He didn't need an introduction. Jesus knew exactly who he was. He went to his house and was welcomed in. Jesus changed his heart. He was dishonest and mean before he met Jesus, but Jesus showed him grace, and now he wanted to treat other people differently, better. No one is beyond the reach of God's grace. Even a thieving tax collector can be changed by Jesus. Thank God for his amazing love.